Welcome from my side. Today's online conference. Yes, as mentioned, Steffen, I'm from Bosch, and I want to share some insights to you, not going into specific use cases, but really on the agenda on how people analytics is linked to digital strategy, and not just in theory. So we did it a few months back. So therefore, let's talk about that and a bit the path to that. So if you go to the next slide, please. Just a short snapshot of our organization. So as you see, we are about 400,000 associates or employees in our company, globally spread within 4 major business sectors, from home and garden up to everything you have maybe in your households or in in your cars and you don't know that's from us. So finally, it's not to focus on the company here, but just on the size and the need to scale and the need to address to tremendously many people. And therefore, I put as well down on it that we have roughly more than 6,000 people working in HR in all the different areas, in the services as business partners in the COEs. And to those, we have to address people analytics. And so it's a bit let's say, a bigger size scaling requirement. And this is as well one of the reasons why we went the way what you will see short notice. If we go for the next, then have a small recap to what David just mentioned as well a few years back when we started with our workshops, and a bit a different way by asking our management globally what they think people analytics is or people analytics should be. We finally came to 3 major elements. The first is in regard to, let's say, descriptive and data as a service. So everything you can think about and have seen as well in parts before, in regard to coming from a classical reporting approach to dashboards, caring for the data availability, the data quality, to bring this data into respective layers to have it in one place, and the governance, the data privacy parts, all about that. Finally, with the first step to make the data access to people easier. On the second stream, on the analytics side, it's then about to care for the real insights. And there we did 2 different paths. The one is what we did is that we went via, let's say, an external vendor. We have chosen and trialed in the US. So they used the tool for a long time, and cross-checked for us globally if it would make sense to have this as well further scaled. And on the other side, we cared for the single request coming out of the different areas, different regions, different business divisions. For example, on the whole area of turnover, or what are specific patterns of people leaving, up to the question on can we predict who is going to leave next, which was a pretty successful story we did in India, where we had been really, let's say on really good figures, able to predict on a name level who is on a really risk to leave on a 6 months perspective forward. Those are, let's say, more the classical areas everybody could think about. So the all the data part and the reporting dashboard part, up to then the insights and up to the prediction. What we, and that's maybe a bit different, what we got from the first second as a homework from the business and from the management was, which I finally called then digital solutions based on analytics. So it was not that much the kind of looking to depths and patterns, but really make as well analytics available for the end user. So, for example, one of the biggest things we care for at the moment, and since the point of time, is the topic of skill management. So to have personalized learning offers, to have personalized career paths, so that people can care for their own development. For example, that you have proposed job opportunities, project opportunities, that we know what are the trends in the market in regards to skills. How do we have to change our learning offers, our jobs, our roles, our complete organization maybe. So what's gonna trending? What is our strategy? Where do we want to move to in the future with different sectors in our company? And what does it mean? How to reskill people? And then move them internally to jobs where they may fit better. So a huge homework we got here, and it's still lasting on to work on that. But this is what I meant. This is not just a one case question you get and you do your analytics and you provide it back and you have an answer on that. This is really for the end users, and as you have seen before on the slide, for more than 400,000 people, for each of the single of them analytics brought to them. Other topics that came up was the whole area of continuous listening, and I put both on continuous listening and employee journey measurement. We saw it at the beginning as one. In between, we care for in a separate way. But that's the whole area of, like you have seen in the adverts before, as well, getting the pulse of the people, the opinion of the people. But in addition, in my perspective, strongly, what is going on in social media, to add that, what is going on in our internal social media platforms. So bring all the data points together and to have the analytics out of that. And this is the starting point we had in 2017. And yes, we did a good progress in many areas there. But at one point, you then come to the question, and how to further scale. And this is where we then start thinking about what might be the next step, or what might be the future of people analytics as well, and how to scale it and bring it to everybody in the organization. If we go to the next one, again, the same picture, bit of different story. I wrote down here that in my personal perspective, the people analytics and digital HR is a natural connection. So both for me are strongly connected, and finally, it cannot live without each other. Why I do think like that, I put you down 3 major points. If you start classically with the whole data side, the whole data service side with dashboards, providing reports and everything, and go the way to the analytics. The more you go on the slide on the right to the digital solutions, you will have a huge overlap with topics that in maybe other departments of your organizations are cared for under the headline or umbrella of digital HR. So think about the skill management. It could be analytics, it could be people analytics if you look from a data perspective side, but it could be as well from a learning perspective, be part of your learning organization because they want to personalize learning offers. On the other side, it could be as well a part of the development team because it's about the single associate's development and personalized development and a bit of care for your own employability instead of the employer is caring that much for you. Yeah, so there are possible ways how to handle it. But the more you move right, the more you get a touch to digital HR. And this is where my first point is the strongest point in my perspective, where both is linked together. And you cannot stop this process, my personal perspective. The other thing is, on the other side, digital HR without any data is impossible. So you need a left, so you need the data side, as you have seen before, the whole architecture, the governance, the rules, the regulations, all the data layers, the data definition, everything you do need. Otherwise, you will do nothing in a digital world. So this is the base. And this is where you have to start questioning how you want to organize it in your organization. Do I care from a data side once for analytics, reporting, whatever? And do I care for automation stuff in other data management systems, and then maybe in a third and fourth and whatever for other use cases? In our perspective, it belongs together, and this is why we as well put it together. So data management is another huge overlap between people analytics and the digital strategy. And finally, from a strategical perspective, it was a perfect fit, as I will show you as well, that if I have a specialists team caring for analytics, and if it's 50, 60, or however, and we don't have even 5, so it's much less. How am I able in such a huge organization to take all the requests we have on analytical questions? It's impossible. So what we have to provide is a solution and the possibility that reaches all the 6,000 plus people in HR, and with this, the business. And to scale this from a people analytics perspective in today's world, especially in this weeks, is impossible. So another great argument to bundle, to combine the activities here and to move forward together. If we go for the next one. A bit now that pass and what we finally did. So looking into the year 2017, it was great. It was good. It was something new. It was people analytics was defined as a future topic of HR, a future relevant topic. We got our project, we got our budget, we got all the stakeholder interests, everything. So it was really a great time. Looking now then in 2019 and looking into that with all the hurdles, maybe the roadblocks you've seen or you come along, you really have to think about how it will look like, how to address it, how to make it happen, how to really get that more than 6,000 people have analytics in their hand and go for the business impact. And at this point of time, or maybe a bit earlier, still in the end of 2018, it was started to talk about a new people strategy. And I underlined it because as well, it was a change for us as well. It was not to talk about a new HR strategy. It really was about talking about a people strategy. And what we did then was that the topic of digitalization got huge impact or huge importance as well. And many of the points, or most of the points that came up again out of the organizations would have been the topics we had on our people analytics agenda. So it was just a natural way that people analytics is part of the digitalization strategy of HR, and with this part of the people strategy together with 5 other elements. And in such a process, you start bringing the topics into the strategy. You talk about how can it be managed, where is the overlap, how can it be organized, how can it not just be now a strategy being on the paper, but also giving operations and bring it to life and bring it to the organization. And moving that path in 2019, finally, I think mid of 2019, we then made a decision that from January to 2020 onwards, we will bring together people analytics together with other topics into one new organization in HR, which was not there before, and I think is a bit unique as well, as a business digital organization. So you may know business digital officers or chief digital officers, which each company have or may have or will have for sure in the future. So we have this for all our big business divisions. There are these business digital officers or organizations, and we in HR made a decision that we as well will set up something like that. And what we did here is that we bundled on the one side people analytics topics. On the other side, we bundled the governance on the whole data management and architecture part. together with further other things. And we created within that business digital organization a huge initiative where some of the topics will last for 5 years to get it done as a digital project of HR. Have this now separately staffed, organized, and handled, but have it short notice as well to you. And on the other side, which is a bit unique as well, but helps us tremendously pushing forward the whole digital story, is that now this new digital organization in HR is not longer only steered by our board member responsible for HR, but as well steered by the CDO of the company, so the Chief Digital Officer. It has as well, let's say, a target line to us, and the targets on 2020, 2021, we aligned as well with him. So if you want to see it like that, we are now part of the network, of the digital network of our organization, directly linked to the CDO. But on the other side, we have the same time our ground and home in HR, caring for HR. The digitalization is moving forward with a huge influence, impact, and focus on what we had the last 3 years in people analytics. If we go to the next one. Thanks. You see here, Bosch always make such things a bit like a house. It's a current visualization of the digital strategy. And you see as well, maybe in the roof, the sentence we give it to it, that we want to make Bosch a home for people in the digital age. That's the umbrella we want to go. And our topics we cared for the last 3 years in people analytics directly pays into that. And the ones that are not relevant or have not been from people analytics, I grayed out. And the other ones I have on the agenda here. So you see it's the whole area of data and architecture to bring this together, to have data available in a totally different way, like you have seen before in the other presentation. And another topic that was very important, I focused on as well from the beginning, was what does it help if we are good in all the data scientist stuff and all the analytics and deliver it to the organization. But if the mindset and the skills of HR are not on the same level or comparable level, that there is someone that can catch up this information. So you deliver something, but there is no one who takes it. So you always have to think about as well the mindset and the skills of HR. Otherwise, it will fail. And you see it also become here now a basic element of the whole digital story. Our use cases, like I said before, the skill-based workforce management is one of the biggest things in here, and as well a really important one, especially in a company that is really in a huge transformation process. We're complete business units. You don't know if in future anyone is driving a car. So then more than 100,000 associates within our company are concerned of that. And so therefore we really have to care for on the skills and the reskilling and the future needs and the right organization setup and everything. So therefore it's a huge relevant thing. You cannot do that without the whole database again. And we need really flexible libraries about job skills and positions in the future. Otherwise, with, let's say, stable catalogs, you will never manage it for the size of a company with more than 400,000 associates. You might manage with catalogs maybe up to 50 or 100,000, but then you're getting lost if you work just with pure stable catalogs where you have to go for workshops to get new trends and data into. And the other thing, the data-driven HR and analytics, as well, many aspects, various aspects. And I took one example to show it to you on the next slide. But finally, that's the overall house and what we do. Starting from the bottom. So far, and it's a bit a critical perspective, And I think it helps if you have a bit of critical perspective on your own and your own work and the achievements, and always rethink where it could be better and how to get it more scaled and so on in the future. So looking on the bottom on this yellow post-its. So yes, we do have dashboards. We do have much easier access. We took out tremendous time of HR to get data together and have results available on click instead of searching for data. Yes, it's there, it's positive. Yes, we do have as well experts who care for analytics, or we can have in our huge Bosch network, we can have people who care for our analytics needs and support us here. But it's always this one single question, and it maybe is popping up in the US, and 1 week later it's coming up somewhere in Eastern Europe and then somewhere in Asia, and you always have to do it again, or it's worst case happening that good for an external company, bad for our internal money, then it's externally ordered to get it solved as well. So it's not the best if you're such a huge company and you have a small analytics team who have to care for. Spread responsibilities, I think as well, something that is usually in a lot of areas. A lot of double work in my perspective, what everybody does know who cares for reports analytics, and that you are too slow always. So people want to have the data now, the insights now, and not in a week or 2 or 3 or whenever. And finally, the biggest concern I do strongly believe that I just can have the value of all analytics stuff if I can address each HR person using it, doing it, being data-driven, living data-driven, and support the business with that. And that's the one thing. So this was so far, and this was so far good, and is good, and we can live with this as well. Maybe in the future. And but is it sufficient? Is it good enough? And I don't believe so. So therefore, if you look on the influence and the framework that is happening, you see that other strategic elements have been defined for the people strategy. For example, the topic of excellence in our processes. So it does mean that all the processes will be reworked, will be set newly. There will be new roles, new task splits. On the other side, one of the topics as well is to reorganize HR globally completely. So let's assume that the classical business partner model with the classical COE approach and so on, many of you know, will not be there for us anymore in future. So we will have a different work split here, a different organizational setup with a different focus, what our HR people should do in the future. Another topic influencing is the topic of automation. So if you automate a lot of things, automatically the task splits will be totally different. And what people did today, they don't have to do in future anymore. So another one. And currently, and especially the last 6 weeks since I'm as well sitting at home in my home office, the whole cost topic, transformation, and crisis steering and everything, all those things pushes the need for data, pushes the need to have daily best lifetime data on combinations, for example, like turnover and the capacity that is working in our plants or in the offices, to have a strong and tight steering on that. So many influencing factors, and this is when again is said, okay, let's bring it together, let's move it together, and let's change it, and change it in the way. And sorry that here on the slide something went wrong. And it's a bit not that nice, but it's about finally the strategy. So we now have a strongly aligned strategy with everybody in HR, with all senior people in HR, with all board members, and with tremendously many stakeholders. The general strategy is aligned, and we are part of it. and our topics are part of it. On the other side to that, we have a strong collaboration as everybody now sees the need and supports and pushes all the topics that are part of the digital initiative. And one thing I have not mentioned, what I always stressed as well the last 3 years, is we have to care for our baseline. We have to care for our groundwork or for our cellar. If you build a house without a cellar, it will fail. So you can have nice, sexy tools that are looking great and someone can use. But if your backbone, the backend, is not clear, is not good, is not stable, is not made for the future, you will fail. And this is now as well in a good and really great collaboration coming up and supported. One other topic I want to point out is that we are now organized a bit is a bit too short, too slow, or too less organized in a total different way. So yes, we are in a business digital organization, but for example, we are not in that classical hierarchy. So we are a team of 3 people leading this organization. Each of us has a different kind of, let's say, special area and responsibility to care for. But for example, our people topics, it's the 3 of us deciding together about a strategy, about a governance, about critical topics. We decide together. If we have a kind of mismatch of our opinions, then we did it really easy. So we are 3, so it's 2-to-1 decision, and then it's gone. On the other side, we try to have a really small team with specialized people and then utilize our global network. So for example, what I mentioned before is that in this digital project we set up, we have now more than 150 people globally who are brought by the business divisions and by the countries on more or less a voluntary way. So we asked for it and got it. Now supporting the single elements of the strategy. And so it's a huge global team, a huge global perspective moving forward and moving the topics forward. Another, in my perspective, really, really important topic is if you are people analytics, if you are in HR IT, if you are development, you're one of many. If you want to move this digital story forward, if you want to bring data-driven topics forward, you have to have the governance for it and have to say as well, and have to have the governance to prioritize as well the IT topics and to govern the data, to govern the architecture. If that's a strong, my perspective, if you don't have this together, you will always have, fight is the wrong words, a bit of different opinions and different movements and different activities, and the budget and the capacity you have will never be used in a targeted way. Moving then now to the technology. From a technology perspective, in the last 3 years, I think as well tremendous success was done in the market by the vendors. I had some slides where I put a vision on a few years back what might be possible in the area of data-driven HR and analytics. I was a bit surprised when I've seen last year that solutions around that are still available. So there's a lot of going on in many different fields. One advice from my side here, it's good and nice to look into HR IT, but it's not always HR IT delivering the best stuff here. So analytics is not just an HR related topic. There are outside HR as well, really good solutions available. And on the other side, finally here on the alignment block, everything what we do is now strongly aligned from the business strategy down to our people strategy to the digital strategy, and everything we do is part of it. It's linked to it. It's linked to the other strategic elements. It's clearly shown that if we want to have another kind of business partner role in the future, and data-driven HR and data-driven is part of a new role of an HR person in the future, then the activities we do here are a prerequisite that it can be happen, that it can be done. And this is the big, huge, in my perspective, advantage we have, that we have now linked everything together in this line with all the blue small picks here linked together, and really have a global alignment. Everybody's moving the same way. And if I move now back to the post-its down in yellow, there we had been people analytics. Yes, we did somehow the same, but we did it from people analytics perspective. And you somehow had to fight to get listened, or it's always then your competitor on budget, on capacity. Yeah, and now everything is in one stream. It's a clear target. It's top down. Everything is aligned, and we move that way, and we will deliver it. And this is what makes a difference. And in my perspective, what makes a difference to get everything scaled. So finally, now the picks now moved here to question mark. So on the left side, it was a nice picture like that with a data cube in the middle. So on the left side, the question mark you see. So my personal opinion is that on the final stage, people analytics and analytics itself and data-driven HR itself has to be something that is in the hand of each HR person. Everybody can use it. If we keep it in the expert side, if we keep it in our analytics teams, we will never make the success that could be there. So what is required here, and what we do, for example, is that we go for self-service analytics solutions where AI is in from the beginning. And on the other side, and this is a bit of change as well, so we don't take now our Python codes or whatever and run it once or twice or 3 times for a specific question. We put it now into libraries, and those can be integrated in the solution. And then everybody can just on click run these respective codes and thus see the insights and can consult the business. And on the right side, this question mark originally is are the savings. And in my perspective, we will have, and we have calculated it, and for sure it's a huge ROI if we have governed data management and data management layers and data available on click instead of taking days or weeks to get it together. It changed on the other side as well completely the way people act, but with this as well, huge savings come along. If you have today people really searching or getting the data together, building dashboards, there is a question to adapt something in a dashboard. One has to do it, even if you give it in the hands to the single associate. It all takes time, and you take a lot of time in caring for that the dashboards are well instead of working with the results. And if we look into the data-driven world, a manager's coming, has a question, and wants an answer, nothing else. Does not want a huge Excel report, does not want to have a huge fancy dashboard to click around. I have an answer, and I have a question, and I want to have an answer on that. And then further work on the measures, the activities related to, instead of taking too much time on getting the data the right way. And finally, what huge impact it will be for sure if we, instead of some people in people analytics are doing analytics and having the data and having the results, if we could have 6,000 times this business impact, and each HR person would be able to consult the business and supporting the business based on the analysis on their screen. This will have a huge impact on the organization. It's a change, it's a training thing as well, but I'm really, really convinced that, especially with the experience of the last 6 weeks, if we wouldn't have done this step in 2019 to link people analytics to the digital strategy, this future, which is not that far future, which is a close future, would not be possible. Yeah. So really, what stuck somewhere on the post-it level on the ground, but with a clear linkage with digitalization as part of the digital strategy, as part of this new organization, having the governance and many things more, having a linkage to the chief digital officer and CHRO. That's the only way, in my perspective, for our company to scale all the analytics, the data-driven stuff, our skill stuff, and everything around what is still there or what is there to come. So with that, finally, on to my last slide, let's get digital. And now I'm ready for your questions.
We do have a couple of questions on there, Steffen. One of them, I think you could probably talk for another 40 minutes on a presentation, so I'll just ask you to do high level on it. And the question here is curious to learn more about skills management. So maybe how your approach for a very high level around what you're doing around skills management in Bosch, because I know it's something that's very important to the company.
Yeah, it's really important. So let's take just one example. Just take what I had before. If today you have 150,000 people working in the automotive industry, and let's assume worst case, tomorrow no one is buying a car anymore. Everybody's driving with buses, with bicycles, with whatever. What do? Do we get rid of all our people, or do we have other businesses that are occurring, that's coming up with our IoT, with others? And now it's the one and only easy question: how does our people today fit into new businesses? How to reskill? How to replace the wrong wording in English? How to bring you into new positions? So this is one of the use case, for example, and this is a really tremendous, huge cost impact one. If you would think to just calculate, if you say you have 150,000 people and you want to get, so we don't want, please, because it's recorded, it's globally here, so we don't want to get rid of our people, therefore we care for it tremendously. But just assume if so, calculate 100,000 times laying off of people compared to some invest in IT and reskill and find a new position for everybody, keeping the know-how, keeping the expertise, keeping the experience, keeping the network, just organized in a different way in other jobs with other content. That's the future. Going down on a skill, another topic, classical HR process, for example, succession planning. Why to do succession planning? Why to invest in a succession planning tool? If you have the right data source available, you just need a search bar. That's it. Then you can search who is the one who is available, have the respective skills, and is able to take over maybe in 2 years respective positions. So you don't need to have any tool managing the succession. Just another example. And there are tremendously more about that.
Thanks, Steffen, and I appreciate that, because I know it's a hugely important topic in Bosch, and obviously one that you could probably have done a whole presentation on as well. So, question here, and it's kind of related to so you talked about you've got 6,000 HR professionals, and you talked about creating the data-driven kind of culture amongst there. One of those steps, I guess, is moving more towards a self-service model. So we've got a question for Ashish around the cultural shift that is kind of required by a move to self-service. How did you drive that change in culture and build trust from people analytics, but I guess with the users of that, which I guess a lot of it is going to be HR, business partners and professionals?
So we bring them in really early. So take them in really early, show the advantages on it. And it's really what we have on the agenda. It's a really easy self-service analytics. So it's not a kind of, you have to create dashboards and have to be expert here. It's more into the direction of search analytics. And if you're able to use your company's internal search engine, then you will be in future able to do analytics here. What you don't have to forget, and what we don't forget, is it's the change that now people are forced to take the results and move to the business and consult the business with the results they have. So this is for me the biggest change in HR compared to what we have today. That you now just have all the results, the analytics, the insights, the patterns on click available, or within a few minutes available. But now you have it, and now we have to do something. You have to consult the business, you have to go into activities, into the measurements, into scenario planning, and this is new, and this is where that is good. That is linked on the one side to the other digital elements as well, but as well to the other people strategy elements, where we care for a new role split within HR. So it's all linked together. So just with changing the organization, changing the roles, caring for that the right learning is there, and added our technical things we deliver to them. This was what makes it successful in my perspective.
Great. Thank you, Steffen. And I know that you might have to go a bit early, so if you do, just tell me. With you, obviously Bosch is 400,000 people, and similar size population to IBM. IBM, I know, as a team of around 70 to 80 people doing this work. Team is much smaller. And I guess that's why it's so important, as you've described, about bringing digital and analytics together. But even so, how do your team prioritize the work that they do? I mean, what sort of step processes have you got in place to prioritize the work? Because I'm sure you get a lot of requests.
Yeah, there are a lot of requests. And this is what you have to handle, and it's on the one side you have your basic topics, and you move ahead, and you keep these topics running, and you should not lose the path there and just walk through, let's say, like that. On the other side, what I found as well is really important, that you have as well some topics you can show as quick wins. So it's always the question to provide something to the organization to keep them on board, and on the other side to not to lose the path and walk the way you started, because this is where we have to go to. And in areas, or not areas, in times as today, it's a bit easier to prioritize, because to all this nice coronavirus crisis topics, some of our tasks we do at the moment are clearly prioritized by our board members, and we stopped all the other things for that. So at the moment, if you want to see it like that, we care for our digital project elements and for crisis topics.
Okay. We've got time for at least one more question. There's quite a few questions coming in now. Actually, I think this one's probably a good one, because I know it will resonate with a lot of people out there. So it's again about that data-driven culture, really. So this question again from anonymously, actually: what percentage of your HR business partners are data savvy, and how do you meet them where they are? And I think you talked a little bit about this by making the tools that you're developing for them easy to use. Otherwise, how do you and your team have to accompany the data or help them, I guess, understand the data? So.
Yeah, this is let's say it's a way you have to go again, and experience you have to make in the organization. And usually after now 3 years, and even before being part of this organization, you don't know each of them but you know the ones who are more data savvy and work on these things because you meet always. And you can take them as a kind of people to spread it and to get others more interested in. And it's a bit of getting appetizers into the organization. So just a way moving from a kind of report and Excel sheets to dashboards and people can click around. We made a huge progress in attract people working with data. That was the first step. And now, let's say in our community, voluntarily, roughly 2,500, 3,000 joined our community where they have access to these dashboards and can work with that. So there are just, let's say, further 3,000 missing. And I think with the trials we did in the world and with the look on the technology available in the world, we now will have one that is really that easy that usually everybody should be able really to use it.
Perfect. So last question, I think. So you've obviously been in this game for a while, about three or 4 years, I think, building the capability at Bosch around kind of analytics and now digital as well. I mean, if you, same question I asked to Patrick Coolen earlier, actually, if you could go back to the start with what you know now, what would you do differently? And probably aligned to that, what tips would you offer to people that are listening or watching now who are maybe earlier in their journey to try and help them accelerate?
So you just have a few minutes left and not a whole day, or so no, it's not that bad. No, it's not that bad. It's what to make different. I think it was a kind of risk, but as well a huge advantage as well. So it's a kind of balance. So we could have maybe started with trying some use cases on our own before we went that public. If you start with a user experience or a design thinking approach with a people analytics project, and you have interviewed the whole management levels globally, you have huge expectations in the organization. And it's like it is, we have topics here from a data management world that last 2 or 3 years until you have something in place. It is like that in a huge organization. And on the one side, to raise these huge expectations, and on the other side, we know that we are not able to deliver it that fast as it is required. And this is something I think that I would do different. Looking back, I believe still that this design thinking approach was the right and is the perfect one on that. But it is a risky one, but we decided for that. We went it a risky path. But this is one thing where I would challenge a bit better between or balance a bit better between the delivery part and meet the expectations quicker earlier than this huge expectations. And nearly each of our topics we took are topics for more year development and getting experience on that.
So you might have identified maybe a couple of quick wins, for example, to go alongside, the skills management one, which I know was one that was identified, which is clearly very, very important to Bosch, probably the most important topic to Bosch. But as you said, it's a multi-year piece of work, and it's probably a piece of work that's never finished because the company continues to evolve, isn't it? So,
yes.